Extraordinary people are simply masters of doing ordinary things consistently over and over. I am here today with Kevin Harrison, who is sharing his podcast with me, and Jed, who is taking care of all of the technical details for us. This is going to be my first time really leading the podcast. Kevin doesn't know what to do with himself over there, but we are going to do our best to make it similar to what we've been doing. Kevin, are you okay?
Why is she turning all red over there?
Because he's laughing.
Now
I'm like,
nervous.
oh no, now I'm nervous.
Yeah, she's nervous.
Kevin's scaring me.
Like all of her athletes whenever she's watching them swim or something. Now she's nervous. So I like to see that.
Yeah. Whew. I'm sweating a little bit too. Okay. But here we go. So today we're going to talk about being extraordinary. And Kevin actually threw this out to me to talk about being extraordinary because I had posted something on Facebook. I don't even really remember what the comment was or what it was that got you thinking about it. What was it?
It was so profound. I can't remember what it was.
Me either. But
it was like, I forgot what, it was something you were talking about training and it was probably something that was in relation to getting your team motivated, to understanding that it's not all these crazy things and great feats of training acumen that happen, but it's just being consistent in the daily things will take you to being and it may have been from Ironman Florida, may have been something you had posted from one of your athletes from Ironman, I don't know, regardless, but it just reminded me of that quote that you talked about how it's, when you look at that word extraordinary.
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 I think about that all the time.
Okay, so think about those two words. So you're just, Jed, you want to be just ordinary?
No, you want to be extraordinary.
You want to be extraordinary.
Yeah.
And first time I looked at it like that, I was like, well, let's break that down a little bit more. What do you mean just extraordinary?
That's a really good question. And, like when you said, let's talk about this, I was like, what does that even really mean? And to me, I think everybody has the ability to be extraordinary in some way, shape, or form. And, it's like you can be good at whatever you decide you're going to be good at, like really good at. Well, extraordinary. But you have to do, what's like the first thing you have to do when you want to be extraordinary at something?
Usually the first thing you're going to do is you're going to be bad at it.
Oh, well, okay.
And then you're going to start doing it, and you just got to try to start, and then you start, and you become a little bit better and a little bit better.
You commit to it.
Yeah, you commit.
You've got to commit. And that was the one thing that I was like, yeah, if you're going to sign up for an Ironman, if you're going to do a marathon, if you're going to lose weight, you got to be like, oh, I am going to do this. I got to commit to it. And then usually, everybody tells you to do that publicly so everybody can hold you accountable. So really the first thing that if you want to be extraordinary at any one thing, you've got to commit to it.
Yeah. And I think that goes to the fact that most people love the idea of being extraordinary, but do not like the commitment level it takes to be extraordinary. You think that's fair?
I think that's accurate.
Yeah. And hey, guilty as charged on different things that I've experienced in my life, of some of the things that I've become really, really good at. And sometimes people will say, oh man, I'm like, I'm really not. I do like these 3 or 4 things every single day. And because I do those every single day, it separates me in that field.
You're committed to them.
You're committed to them.
Yep.
Other things that I love the idea of being extraordinary in, that I am not extraordinary in, I have not committed to those simple or because none of this stuff is magic, right? I mean, is there magic in any of this?
There's no magic.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. There's no magic.
I
wish there were.
How did you? I mean, you've talked about your story before, but I mean, how did you end up at the Ironman World Championships?
So when I ended up there, it was because I was committed to qualifying, and I was going to do. I committed. I think I said I would do whatever it would take, and unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I did not qualify the first year, and I ended up quitting my office job the second year and basically just training full time like a crazy person. Now, that is not something most people can, would, or should do, but I was all in. And I really think that sometimes in order to get to the next level, you do have to have that mentality. Although, probably keeping my day job at that time might have been a good idea. So just so everybody hears me say this, don't quit your day job to be all in, but all in on every other level, and getting the people around you to kind of encourage you and stick with you, like as you go through the motions to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to. And there was one quote that I did post recently, and it was talking about how sometimes your encouragement comes from the most unlikely sources. Like, you expect everybody in your family to support you, and so often that isn't the case. It's going to be strangers that you meet along your journey. And never discount that, because a lot of times it's not just about wherever you're going, it's about the journey.
Yeah, it's so much about the journey. It's Jed about to do his first 5K.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bonnie, his wife, is doing her first half marathon.
Oh, wow.
At Disney.
She's in the middle of her training. She did 7 miles the other day in a little less than 2 hours.
Nice.
So yeah, I could not be more proud. She's doing great.
And I was having that conversation with them of at Disney, they've got what I think are the best medals in all of competitive running events. They have the best medals, which you pay for them,
right.
but so, the interesting thing is that you think, gosh, I cannot wait to get that finish line and get that medal, and it's going to be so awesome. I said, but then you realize that the real beauty was the journey, and those days when, like you just said, you just got that 7 mile run in when I didn't want to get it in, and I pushed through it, and it's this journey of these little everyday steps that you look back on and is like, man, I became extraordinary by doing these little things every single day.
But that's it. And it's, for Bonnie, 7 miles, that's a big deal. And that is part of her journey to being extraordinary in her own way. And I think the beauty of being extraordinary, like individually, is that you don't have to compare yourself to anybody else. It's about what you're doing. And if you've achieved it or not. It's not about somebody saying, oh, wow, you're extraordinary. That's not where it's at. It's internal.
Yeah. Are you maximizing your life? Are you being everything that you can be? And if you can answer that question, really, what other questions are there to ask?
Well, first you got to ask the question.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to stop long enough to say, am I really doing what I should be doing? Am I really putting everything I have out there? And I think most of us can say no.
Mm-hmm.
There are very few people who really are operating at that kind of level.
Yeah. Like, the reason we're sitting here at this podcast is this is something that we felt like we needed to do.
Yes.
And have dropped the ball a little bit on of just the scheduling and the consistency and just doing the thing. When we do them, they're really good. When we take a month off, you're not doing the.
It shows.
Yeah, it shows, and it's not rocket science.
Well, I'm sorry, it shows for me, but not Kevin. Kevin's just a natural at this.
Yeah. I guess
extraordinary, maybe.
Extraordinary.
Okay, so going back to you've got to commit you've got to have big dreams, and big dreams are different for everybody. You know, my big dream, like right now, I have this stupid race that I want to do in Sweden, and it's stupid. The race is stupid. I keep telling myself, let it go, and I just can't. I can't let the stupid race go.
So let me stop you there. How do you determine? Because people are thinking, well, how do you dream? Most people, I think, you see this with young kids when they're really, really, really young. They're dreamers, and they're thinking about all these things they want to do and all these big dreams. And we get them into school, and we start kind of trying to squeeze that in and stop dreaming. And by the time we become adults, we're taught to, hey, you go to work, do your work, get off work, have a family, whatever you're doing,
right?
And that is life.
Mm-hmm.
And we forget how to dream. So how do you number one, rekindle yourself to be able to dream dreams,
right?
And then determine whether, okay, this is something. How do you know when it's like, no, you know what, I can't let this go. So this is legitimate, and I need to do whatever it takes to go capture this
right.
dream.
Well, I think that really, you know, you have to kind of like look at your lifestyle and what you can make happen realistically. You know, like quitting your job, again, not a good idea. But it's like if you want to go do the marathon at Disney, and I mean, I heard that when you do the marathon at Disney, you get to ride the rides. They have rides open.
That's
you
right.
can ride the ride.
You can ride the ride.
I was dumbfounded when why didn't anybody tell me this until now?
You should look at your Garmin data whenever you come off of the Expedition Everest roller coaster.
Yeah, I should. Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I didn't know that you could run the marathon and just stop and ride rides. Okay, that's really cool. I have much more respect now for those of you who do these crazy races at Disney. Now I know why, but you know, because you don't have to wait in line. They open it up for the runners. That's insane. Okay, so I just got completely off topic. Thanks, Kevin. Where were we going with all
dreams.
this? Dreams.
How do you
dreams.
determine those dreams, and then how do you know? Like you said something. I think you already answered the question, but you said I just could not let it go.
Oh, I can't let it go. Yeah. Okay. So how do you determine your dreams? I think that dreams are the kind of things that stuff maybe you thought about when you were a kid or when you were younger, or something that you've seen where it kind of gets your interest. And every time you see it, you're like, oh, that looks really neat. Like, I want to do that. And it does not have to be a race. It doesn't have to be, you know, anything specific. It could be like, I don't know, climbing Mount Everest, for instance. But you see it and it just speaks to you over and over again. And you try to stop thinking about it and you just can't. That's the kind of stuff that you need to come back to and revisit. Is it really worth going after? And that's the conversation I keep having with myself about this silly race in Sweden. Like, why can't I let this go? I don't know.
So what's this silly race in Sweden?
It's the World Championships for swim run, but of course you have to qualify.
Great. That just sounds wonderful.
It is.
World's greatest swimmer ever.
World's greatest swimmer.
You get to swim between the fjords.
Oh, wow.
And then you run across them, and you run like up to the top of a mountain, and then you run back down the mountain and you swim to another one. I mean, when in your lifetime are you going to do this? It is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But sounds really challenging and really fun. I mean, what a great way to see Sweden.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and who's to say whose dream is stupid?
Well, I am saying that it's just a little far-fetched.
It is far-fetched, but sometimes that's the kind of things that we need in our lives to be able to challenge us to something. For me, it's been the simple pursuit of the Ironman.
Ironman. It's coming for you this year, Kevin.
It's coming in 2024.
You know how there's that saying right now, no one's coming for you? Well, I've got news for everybody. I'm coming for Kevin. I'm taking him on some long bike rides.
Yep. And that is
I'm coming for you.
Yeah. And that is, it's a dream that I have put it, how I would say, a dream is a dream you need to pursue is if you shelf it and it stays alive and it keeps popping back up and grabbing for you, you know that that's something that you need. You've got, if you never scratch that itch, It's always going to itch.
Can't let it go.
It's never going to go away. So
Can't let it go.
Absolutely it.
Yeah.
That's absolutely it.
yeah, and so that's where I am. So all right, so we're going to you commit,
Yep.
and then what?
Then you have to take responsibility,
Oh no.
which I think we've already kind of started talking about that, but the taking responsibility part, I mean, that's where it gets real. That's where, like, me as a coach, I come in and I'm like, okay, Kevin, we've had it. We've shelved it for lots of good reasons. I mean, you always have had a good reason when you've shelved it. But like this year, there are no more good reasons.
Yeah.
Like, sorry.
Take responsibility. I have a little mentoring group to do with little 5th grade boys. And I always tell them, I was like, I want the ones that were just like me. They were just heck on wheels. And we were talking. In fact, I do it on Fridays. And so I was doing it today. And today we were talking about self-control and what self-control is. And I always ask the question when I do this is, who's in control of you? And they always answer is like, oh, Miss Foster, that's her principal. Miss Foster is, or my teacher is, or how about at home? Oh, mom and dad are. And they like, no. All those people can tell you what to do, but none of them can make you do anything. Who's in control? And you come back to those two words of self-control, of yourself is in control of you. And, when you talk about.
How'd that go over with them?
It goes over. It's interesting. Usually a light bulb goes off because it's the same conversation every year with a new group of boys.
Uh-huh.
And they always answer the same thing. My principal, my teacher, mom, dad, whoever it is. And then we say, no. Can they make you do anything?
No. I have a 5th grader.
Yeah.
No. The answer is no. I am not in control of him. No.
And they look at you, though, and a light bulb kind of goes off of, oh, yeah. And I tell them something. And I think that this is something that I have to discipline myself to think. Like, guys, when you get mad, like generally when you get in trouble, it's because you're mad.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you get mad, I want you to stop and think something. And I still get, because I've been doing this for like almost 20 years. And so these boys will graduate. And I'll be talking to them after graduation and they'll say, yeah, Mr. Harrison, I still say that in my mind. And it keeps me out of trouble. But when you get mad, you think to yourself, I'm about to do something stupid, and I'm not stupid.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Kevin. I'm going to use that too.
You can use
I'm going
that
to use
too.
it.
But the point of that, stepping back, is you're in control.
Mm-hmm.
It's self-control. And you talk about responsibility. I just went off on a tangent there. I don't know how I went off on that. But.
No, that's actually good stuff. I mean, like, although I am going to go home and ask my 5th grader who is in control of him, and I am pretty sure that the answer will be nobody.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it will be nobody, but then you're like, no. You say that, but you're in control. You are in control of you. And so when bad things come your way, so do you like some of these consequences that you get sometimes? You know who gets to decide those things? You do.
Yeah, I'm going to try it.
Yeah. And then that thing of the little thing about when you're mad, you just think, hey, I'm about to do something stupid.
And I'm
not stupid.
Okay.
It puts you in the driver's seat. Look, maybe that just speaks to me, but that it really has worked with them. It has resonated with some of them. So
I'm going to try it, and I'll report back.
Report back.
Okay, so you're getting lots of wisdom here, in being extraordinary. So that's how to help your 5th grader be extraordinary.
True.
Be in control of themselves, or your adult,
or your 50-year-old,
or your spouse, or whatever. Okay, so take responsibility.
Jed's he's right now. He's going to tell Bonnie that. Next time you're mad at me is what you need to say.
Then I'm going to sleep on one of your couches. Whoever volunteers. Oh, gosh.
Okay, with that thought, so the other thing, really is believing in yourself, because the one thing, like, so many times I'm like, I can do this. I can do it. I know I can. And then, like, I go out the door and I'm like, oh, maybe I can't. I'm sitting at home. I think I can. And I just lose momentum. And so I think really continuously working on, no, I've got this. I'm going to do this. I am going to force myself to do it. And I will say, declaring that you're going to do it publicly, it makes a huge difference. Whether it be, telling your family is one thing. And I don't think telling your family necessarily works as well as telling like some of your friends. Because your family, they love you either way. They're like, oh, whatever makes them happy. They're not going to push you. But your friends, oh boy, they will call you out in a heartbeat.
Yeah. The real friends
Yes.
will.
Apparently, I have a lot of real friends.
So I'm gonna hit you with a little something here.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Because you said you got to believe in yourself.
Yes.
Do you know why? I want you to,
Oh, boy.
to think about this.
Okay.
Why is it so hard for Katie,
Yeah.
for Jed, for Kevin to believe in themselves? I want you to think about that. Why is it so hard for you to believe in yourself? And I've got an answer from myself.
Well, that's good. Then you can go first.
Well, I'll go first. Okay, I will go first. Do you know why it's so hard for us to believe in ourselves? It's because we have seen every single failure that we have ever had.
That's interesting. That's not what I would have come up with. But yeah, okay. I buy it.
That's a good point.
And here's what I'm going with is people look at us from the outside.
Uh-huh.
And for most of them, they're going to see most of the positives. That they're not going to see all of the failures,
right.
All the times that we have not kept commitments to ourselves.
Right.
They have not seen those things. We have seen every single time that we have failed ourselves.
That's a good point. And yeah, maybe I just never think about it quite like that. But yeah, it's a great point.
But I think
now I'm thinking about all the times I failed myself.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a lot.
Well, there's a lot. Hey, there's
a lot.
There are a lot of them. But when you go back to those times that we have failed ourselves, it's usually because of that lack of commitment. And for us not take the two things you said here, the lack of commitment and the lack of self-control, taking responsibility for ourselves. And most of the failures that we have had are very, very easily fixable things with commitment.
Wow.
What do you think?
Wow. I think that's deep. I think that's really deep.
Deep of what? Deep in a pile of goodness or a bucket of
No. It's deep in thought. Mainly is what I'm saying.
So I'll say this. So I've been pursuing the idea of an Ironman 10 years, maybe 12, and have yet to accomplish it.
I know, but that's got to change this year. It's got to change this year.
It's going.
Next year, 2024.
Yeah, it's going to change.
January 1st.
But I know every single time, I can go back to every single point in time where I have given up on it that year.
So, do you ever think that maybe not believing in yourself has to do with the F word, fear?
Oh,
absolutely.
Fear of failure. Fear is by far, I think, like the worst thing out there that stops all of us from doing things. Fear of failure, fear of not being accepted, fear of being laughed at, just
fear of being exposed.
Yeah, of course.
Not necessarily fear of failure, fear of accomplishing it, not being good at it.
Yeah. Or not good enough.
Yeah. And
good enough.
By whose standard?
Right.
Yours most of the time.
Okay, so that was deep in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see it going there exactly. Thank you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
But That's good stuff. Okay.
Hey, you're in charge today. I'm
So,
just adding value.
I am feeling like I am on a ride right now. That roller coaster. Okay, but we're here and we're doing it. So, you just can't be scared. We got to go forward. Okay. So, one of the examples when I was like looking up stuff for this was, an Olympic runner who trains his whole life to run like a 4-second 100-meter or something crazy like that. And, we complain if we don't do something in a 10-year period. Yeah. And it's like, it takes time. It takes time. And sometimes it takes time to build up the courage and the confidence to get out there and just do it. And, it's doing the little things. It's the journey. It's, I talked to you, I said, hey, have you ever ridden the Watershed? And the Watershed, for those of you who don't live here, it's just this awesome place to go ride your bike. Hardly any traffic. Cars are not allowed to stop in this area. And it's about, 45-minute climb, gentle climb. And Kevin's never ridden that before. And so this year I said, well, we're going to go ride it. And it's going to be fun. And Kevin's going to thank me afterwards, after he cusses me. But first he'll thank me.
Thinking already.
Yeah. He's going to have fun. But, it's just doing those things that it's taking the step, like the little step. It's not thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to cross the finish line of Ironman. No, you've got to go ride the Watershed first. You've got to go, do your run 4 times a week. You've got to go to the pool. You've got to show up. You just have to show up. Yeah. Commitment, whatever all these things are here. What did I say? I said commitment, take responsibility, just show up. You have to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
We're really good at showing up for other people. Like if I told Kevin my life depended on it, that he went to swim, otherwise I might die, he would show up. Now, if I told Kevin his life depended on it, he might not show up.
Yeah, and that's fair.
I think he would, though, because you're that kind of person.
Yeah, that's fair. And we've talked about on the podcast before of to be truly selfless, you have to be selfish.
Oh, yes.
It's why when you're flying and they're giving you they say, when the oxygen mask comes down and you're having to help somebody, put yours on first, because you're no good to anybody else if you do that.
I think about that one a lot.
Yeah. But showing up, it's the old adage of discipline and motivation. Which one breeds which one? Discipline, motivation does not lead to discipline.
No.
But discipline almost always leads to more motivation because you got to win under your belt.
Definitely.
You showed up. You showed up one time. It's like, you know what? I think I can show up again.
Yeah.
And then I think I can show up again.
So showing up, if you want to be extraordinary, you got to show up consistently. Consistently show up. All right. So the next one is pushing yourself and accept discomfort. What do you think about that? Jed's smiling. Not sure why.
I'm smiling because I've got a golf story that kind of goes with this.
All right, let's hear it.
I play with a guy sometimes who is an extraordinary golfer. He is really, really, some places he's world class good. He's good.
Wow.
And sometimes it's uncomfortable to play with him because I am decidedly not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to pull something that I've done before. And I know I've done it before, and it makes me mad that I can't do it repeatedly. And he says, one day we were playing, he said, how far do you hit that club on average? I said, I don't know. I said, I can hit it 160 yards. He said, how far do you hit it on average? I said, I don't know. I can hit it 160 yards. He said, why are you judging yourself on the best thing you've ever done? Why don't you get comfortable with what you can do reliably? Why do you keep pushing yourself to do the best thing you've ever done every single time you pick that club up? And it
that's great.
Completely changed everything I do out there anyway.
But that's advice that could be taken anywhere.
It can.
That is so true. Because I do that. I'm thinking of that if somebody asks me, Kevin, how far can you hit your pitching wedge?
Right.
And it's like, I think back to the best
shot you ever,
and I can remember that shot.
Yep.
And I was like, that's how far I hit it.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
9 times out of 10, I'm going to hit it 30 yards less than
Right.
that.
And you have to chip again and then 3-putt, and you're mad at everything.
But I'm thinking about that moment
Right.
in time.
That I absolutely flushed it from a perfect lie and with perfect wind on a perfect swing, which is so rare.
But is that just us, or does everybody think that way?
Good question.
I think, well, I think it could go both ways. I think it's sometimes we need to remember back to our best day
I agree.
and remember that, man, I can do this.
That it's not out of the realm of something that you can accomplish.
Yeah.
You can do it.
But it is also, you use golf as an example.
Right.
Golf's a great example of
Yeah.
this that correlates really good with the things we're talking about. Is the really, 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 really good golfers, they play
Yeah.
and practice every single day.
And they practice twice as much as they play.
They practice twice as much as they play. You talk about pushing yourself and accepting discomfort. That pushing yourself for them is just putting into practice.
Yeah, 100 balls with every club on the range every day.
Yeah. And I tell you what I don't want to do, because golf's not a dream of mine. What I don't want to do is go to the driving range and hit 2 buckets of balls.
Or a bucket or 3 shots. I don't want to go.
Really? That's the fun part.
No.
No.
If I want to play,
Out there playing.
I'm going, and I'm not going to the driving range. I'm going to show up, and I'm getting my bag
Right.
out, and
Right.
we're going to tee number 1.
10 minutes before tee time, Snickers and a Diet Coke. Let's go.
I would rather go hit balls than play a game.
Wow.
What is wrong with me
You're an outlier.
I am.
You're an outlier.
in that regard?
Committed to the process.
Honestly, I loved golf in high school. I mean, it was the best sport there was. You know why?
Why?
Because you got to leave school early in the morning
All day
and go
long.
be
Yeah.
outside and walk around
All
on the
day
golf
long.
course.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
True story.
Best sport. Best sport by far. Even though I was a runner, I was like, sign me up for golf.
Good point. Now rein us back in on this. Push yourself
Right.
and accept discomfort.
All right. Psychologically, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
Okay. How do you determine what psychological discomfort is? I know when my body's uncomfortable. How do you determine when psychological discomfort is?
Well, I mean, if we take it back to Ironman training, and you're not a good swimmer, and you have to go swim, you have to make yourself swim. Is that something you get excited about? Is that something you get excited about, Kevin?
I've lost my voice over here.
Kevin is silenced. Okay. So really, like, psychologically uncomfortable. Like, that is when you know that's it's not something you're really good at. It's not fun to do. It's uncomfortable because you're like, oh my gosh, people are going to lap me at the pool. I don't feel like if I have to go swim with the masters group and they're swimming all the different strokes and I just can't keep up. I mean, that does not make me feel good mentally.
You know, the interesting thing
What?
is, so I want to, got a very type A personality.
You do or I do?
I do. Well, you do too.
Okay.
But I want to achieve at a high level. If I'm going to do something, I want to be the very best I can be at it. So when I find myself in situations to where I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
it's 2 things. It's almost Jekyll and Hyde. It scares me because I get in a pool and I can manage, but I'm not
Comfortable with it.
I'm not the guy in the pool.
You don't need to be the guy in the
I know
pool.
I don't need to be, but you just here. But if you're coming from an arena that you might be really good at some other things,
Mhm.
and then you start doing things that you're not good at and that you struggle with.
Which is where the growth happens.
That's where the growth happens, and that's what I'm saying is that but you keep being drawn to those things.
Mm-hmm.
You get drawn to I've even thought of, okay, when I'm thinking about Ironmans I'm doing and different swims that I want to do, should I challenge myself more
Mm-hmm.
with those? So it does, but then it's that, then you get caught in that quagmire of, gosh, well, man, you just need to go swim 4 times every week. Just go do that.
Because it becomes habit then, and it's not as psychologically difficult once you just do it all the time, because you realize that everybody who's at the pool, they are way more worried about themselves than they are about you.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter, because before we leave the house, it's just like getting out of the house, like, oh, I don't want to do this. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's cold. It's going to be crowded. There are going to be a ton of kids there. It's just uncomfortable. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, when you want to be extraordinary, you have got to put yourself in those situations over and over and over again. And that's hard. Like, that is where the hard work really happens. And that kind of separates the people who become extraordinary from the people who become, kind of higher level ordinary.
No.
It takes a lot mentally.
No.
So that's just one of the things you have to think about if you're trying to be extraordinary at anything. All right. So the point is, after listening to all of this, being extraordinary, I mean, how can you sum it up? It's just not easy.
Yeah.
There is no easy way to be extraordinary at any one thing. And it doesn't matter what it is, if it's sports, if it's being a leader in your organization, if you just want to be an extraordinary parent, I mean, gosh, that'll challenge you in all sorts of ways. But I think that working towards being extraordinary at all times is really where it's at, because that's where you grow. And if we're all sitting here and we're not growing, then we have a problem. Like, we can't just be complacent.
Well, if you're not growing, you're really dying. I love that. I love
Ooh.
that. I love that line in the movie,
Oh, wow.
Shawshank Redemption. Get
You're
busy
not-
living or get busy dying.
Yes, I've heard that one.
And it's Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption. We got to properly cite him. but it is, I think it's true. And I think that's what you see with people in life, of when they stop living, they're dying. And it's no different than anything. Business, we have account managers in all of our different stores. And you know what the really successful ones are doing?
What?
Are they, and the most successful ones are not God's gift to what you would call a salesperson, which is, you think in your mind, salesperson like this gregarious, dynamic personality that's just selling and just so all these things. And those people can be this, but you know what makes, the really, really successful ones, you know what they're doing every day?
Being consistent, showing up, hopefully.
They're making their 5 prospect calls
They're consistently.
Yeah, consistently.
every day.
Mhm.
Just 5. And usually every day they're not converting anybody. But because they're making 10, if you can convert 2 out of 10, you are an extraordinary salesperson. So because they're making 10, they're converting 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're making 25 in a week, well, they might be converting 3.
Right.
And you convert 3, that's could be over 100, 150 in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just, quote unquote, dynamic salespeople. No, they're just consistent. They're disciplined in what they're doing. And that's the same thing in your entire life. Of what are the things in every area of your life that you feel like, what are the things you need to do that are going to take you to where you want to be?
Definitely. And just like with the closing thought, if anyone hasn't seen the movie about Diana Nyad, Have you seen the movie?
I have not seen it. Is this a swimming movie?
This is the swimming movie
with Jodie
Foster and Annette Bening, I believe.
saw it. I've got that on. Is it Netflix or Prime?
It's Netflix.
Yeah.
But if you want to watch a movie about being extraordinary, now notice I did not say likable, because I think her character was pretty accurately portrayed. But it is a very inspiring movie about never giving up and like having just some crazy dream. Her dream was pretty crazy. It was to swim from Cuba to Florida. Wow. And there are a lot of things that have to happen in order for that to even be possible. And you have to have a huge crew. And the movie was very well done. And it was very inspiring to never give up. Because when she started her journey, I think she was 28. And when the movie ended, she was like in her 60s. Okay. And you know, people are like, just stop already. Like even her best friend was like, can you just give it up? She couldn't give it up. She couldn't give it up. So I would say if you want a little added inspiration, watch that movie.
I'm gonna watch it. I've seen it. I've seen it on Netflix, and I've been thinking about what. So I'm gonna have to watch that.
Just be careful because you're going to start swimming the next week, like 4 times or 5 times a week. Okay, so
I'll
just
be
make sure you
swimming.
have the time.
Where's Kevin? He's in Cuba. He's swimming to Florida.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll be next year.
Yeah, next year.
2 years from now.
Next year.
All right. So really, I think that we've given you things to think about and ways to be extraordinary in your own life. But really, you just have to show up and you have to do the work. And as we like to say here, do hard things today, and tomorrow will take care of itself.